Security, apart from being the fear of every Nigerian, has become the word on the lips of every Nigerian. Every part of Nigeria has grappled with insecurity and crime despite tough words from President Bola Tinubu and the heads of security agencies, though insecurity persists across the country, prolonging the misery of Nigerians. Reports of killings, kidnappings, terrorism, banditry, cult violence and armed robbery pop up daily, notwithstanding notable interdiction actions and impacting negatively on the socio-economic activities of the country. Well, we have in the studio this morning Dr. Steven Okwori. Dr. Steven is a security and crime management consultant with a doctorate degree in security and strategic studies. He will be joining us this morning to help us analyze some of the issues as regards insecurity. Good morning, Doctor. Welcome to the program. A lot of issues from the northwest to the northeast to the southeast to the southwest. There's always one issue relating to insecurity that you would see anytime you pick up the paper, turn on your TV or radio, or even surf the net. Doctor, do you think that in the past 8 years or so, we've been able to address some of these issues that have gone on, to be triggers causing a rise in insecurity cases across Nigeria?
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to your studio. You see, it's unfortunate that in the last 10 years or more, Nigeria has been bedeviled with a lot of insecurity issues, from terrorism, kidnappings, armed robbery, herdsmen and farmers' conflicts, and even the one chance that we have within the FCT and the other crimes that are there. In terms of successes that the government and the military and the police have recorded in the last 8 years or so, I would say that in the area of terrorism, there's this remarkable achievement that the government of former President Muhammadu Buhari recorded, under the reign of General Buratai and Farouk Yahya, because we saw that before 2015 there was the number of attacks was about 640, that they were recording that period that led to like almost 6,000 deaths of innocent Nigerians that died as a result of terror-related violence, But before the exit of former President Buhari, there was this drastic reduction that the number of deaths came down to like 120, So we'll say that there's some successes in that regard. But moving from there, you will see that there was this drastic increase in the rate of kidnappings that we are now currently experiencing. You will see that the terrorists, those that perpetrate terrorism, now had to shift their
focus
into kidnapping. You will see that the Abuja-Kaduna train, they were terrorists. They were not kidnappers. They were terrorists that carried out that heinous act. And you discover that about almost 6 billion naira was the cashed out about over 6 billion naira from
as
that
ransom.
From that.
Okay.
So we are in this very serious situation at the moment, especially in the area of kidnapping. Nigerians are paying heavily for.
Doctor, we are seeing the dynamics change in terms of the operations of some of these non-state actors. So you just spoke about how initially it's been heavy on the activities of terrorism,
yes,
but now it's gradually moving. It's seeming as if they are diversifying. Now the question will now be, is the government and its security agencies, do you think they are doing enough in terms of also meeting up, with some of the changing trends that these non-state actors have shown, over the years? Before I respond, of course, I'm joined in the studio by the delectable Madia Umar, who is my co-anchor this morning. Madia, good morning and welcome to
Good morning. You're just noticing me. I'm invisible.
Well, I had to quickly do an introduction. I unfortunately omitted it before, and I apologize. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
You're looking quite great. Doctor,
I could say the same way.
The issue of changing trends, changing times, a need to change the style, the ways, the security architecture, if I might say. So do you think that has changed?
No, I don't think it has changed, because if they were following the way the events were unfolding, I think that would have been recording serious successes in whatever the security agencies are doing, because we cannot keep doing the same thing and we expect a different result. Because from my own opinion, my own view and research that I've conducted, is as if they are not following a trend of events as it's unfolding. You know, there's less armed robbery now. If you ask me, armed robbers now have substituted their means of
their trade
into kidnapping as well. Because when you go into robbery, the risk is high, because you are on the road, you don't know the vehicle that is coming, either it's a military or a police vehicle, you know. So the risk in armed robbery now is high compared to kidnapping. Kidnapping, you just come, strike, just take your victims into the bush, you know. So the risk when you carry out kidnapping is very minimal, you know, but the benefits is very high. You know.
Doctor, can we relate it to the fact that some of these activities are underreported? You know, the highway robbery, of course, you could say that it has reduced, but, you know, going into people's houses, you know, robbing them of their property, that's something that is underreported. Having said that, you know, looking at all of this turnout of events when it comes to insecurity in different parts of the country, even to the north, central, and even the ones, I think, you know, Benue State has been in the news, you know, lesser than it was in 2021 and, you know, beyond that time. But we see that there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of new dynamics of how these things are being, you know, orchestrated, and how people have had to bear the brunt over the years. Now, my question is, why do we have all of these criminal activities persist, despite the fact that, you know, we have committees that have been set up, we have government, you know, releasing mercenaries, both kinetic and non-kinetic, to tackle this menace? Why are we still talking about insecurity over a decade, and then it's now diversifying into different forms?
I think, to respond to that question, the answer for me is that the political class have failed us. Yes, because during their manifesto, when they go out to campaigns seeking for offices they want to occupy, they make a whole lot of promises. You know, they talk about job creation, reduction of unemployment, poverty this and poverty that, and all that. But the moment they assume these offices, you begin to wonder, those promises that they made, you know, they don't keep to them, they don't fulfill them, you know. Because when you go into investigation, asking this, when I did my thesis, when I did my research on, my research was on kidnapping for ransom. You know, I was opportunity to meet kidnappers that were arrested by the police. The police gave me opportunity to speak with them, ask them one or two questions, and they were talking about they don't have anything to do, they are poor, they are this, they are that. So when they keep giving you excuses in that regard, what do you expect the government to do? Is to see that they create enabling environment, you know, because it's not everybody that must work with government. You know, when you create an enabling environment, investors come invest in the country. They will hire the services of the idle-minded youths that we have. You know, they will engage them. But now we are talking about an enabling environment. It's not even there. We are seeing companies closing, winding down, leaving this country and the likes. So what are we saying? So I think that the political class, they need a lot to do. They have a lot of job to do. You know, to respond to your question.
This seems to me as like a complex web of multifaceted challenges.
Exactly.
Doctor, I'm saying this because we've been having this conversation, and one thing to pick out is the fact that this insecurity issue that we're talking about now, as one way or the other, mutated, or if I would say metamorphosed from what it used to be before to a new phase that a lot of Nigerians are now really scared to see where it would lead to. And the reason being that initially, Nigerians used to be scared of armed robbers and what they were capable of, you know, coming into their house in the dead of the night, barging into the doors and saying, where is the money, and the likes of that. But now it's different. They would barge into your house and abduct everybody. And then they will release one person to go about doing the crowdfunding, knowing that this is definitely going to be a crowdfunding, because most times some of these people who they abduct may never or may not have seen the amount of money that's been demanded as ransom,
Exactly.
and may never in their lives, after paying the ransom, see such monies. But then again, in all of this, when we look at the security side, we keep hearing one particular lingo, non-kinetic approach, the need to use a different methodology, the need to restructure the security architecture. We keep hearing all of this, but it keeps seeming as if the problem does not go away.
At all.
A perfect example, the deteriorating nature of the security here in the FCT, to the extent that it's taking the intervention of the President, the Minister of the FCT, and the Inspector General of Police to address these issues. Do you think that all of this is still going to be enough to assuage some of these tensions and doubts that Nigerians have had over the past decade? Because this is now looking like a trauma, no longer just a situation that people are scared of anymore.
Now, it's for us to go outside the box. We should be able to think outside the box now, because all what you have read out, we have applied them. We're not getting result. We have seen a situation where the president gives marching orders. We're not seeing result. The minister have said a lot of promising words, you know, to encourage residents of the FCT that the FCT is peaceful and all that. We have seen words from even the Commissioner of Police to say we should go about our normal and lawful businesses, that the FCT is safe. But all this we are not seeing them. You know, the next day you hear that a whole family is adopted. They are trying to put monies together to pay ransom. And now, what is it that we're not doing right? How do we now look beyond the conventional security apparatus?
But haven't we been doing that all this while? You know, this insecurity has persisted for so long that we have asked for foreign intervention. Recently, we signed a deal with France to help us with the insecurity situation. And before France, there was Israel, there was USA.
Those ones, they were only supplying when they have equipment, come to do trainings, but they were still dealing with the conventional security agencies that we have. Now, you agree with me that most of these crimes happen in our local communities, in our hinterlands. You know, right now, if you go to these very hinterlands we are talking about, you won't see the presence of any security agent there. You will rarely see a police officer or even a soldier in these hinterlands. For instance, the communities where these kidnappings around the FCT is happening, you couldn't even see police. Meanwhile, they are still within the bounds of the FCT. You know, so let me tell you something. One of the victims of kidnapping for ransom that I interviewed, she told me that when they came to his house, the closest to him when they came to his house were a vigilante group. And he used his phone to call on the vigilante group to come to his aid. So why didn't he reach out to the police? But he saw that the vigilante group were the people that were closer to him than the police at that particular point.
Okay, I haven't talked about politicians.
The kidnappers subdued the vigilante group because they had more sophisticated arms and ammunition. So when we talk about, you know, looking at solutions at this thing, when we mention vigilante group and the Nigerian Hunters and Forest Security Service, we are looking at how these groups, local groups, can be empowered.
I like the fact that you actually picked the brain of these kidnappers and trying to understand, you know, the whole process and how this takes place, the whole phenomenon surrounding the incident and also the kidnapping. Also, you talked about political class. The political class has failed us. And a lot of times, we hear Nigerians, even though you agree with me that Nigerians notice, even if sometimes they don't have the appropriate channel to channel this communications to, Nigerians notice. And most of the times, Nigeria will tell you that even security experts like yourself will say that during the elections, during the campaigns, we see a lot of reduced criminal activities. I'd like to have your thoughts about that, you know, that line of thought. Like, you see less criminal activities, and then you see a lot of people, you know, going to work for these politicians. Do you agree with, you know, that line of thought that, you know, the political class has a way of dousing this and also engaging these people in a way that will benefit us and tackle the insecurity, just like killing two birds with one stone?
Now, when we experience a reduction in insecurity issues during election period, you discover that most of these elections also happen in our rural communities, where you have these polling booths and the likes, and you see presence of the military, the police in these rural communities where these voting takes place. Now, don't forget that the criminals or criminal-minded people also know that this is a period where we need
that's before the election itself.
Yes.
I mean, during the campaigns.
Yes. Yeah, of course you know that during elections, during campaigns, you see presence of political thugs that are armed, you know. Before they venture into becoming thugs during that period, they were doing something else. They were carrying out some other criminal activities. You know, don't forget that there was this time, was it during, what's his name now, Senator Saraki? If you followed the event that time, some armed robbers were arrested in Ilorin.
And his name was mentioned.
His name was mentioned. They brought some Ashwebi, that one of them attended his daughter's traditional marriage or something. So now the point I'm trying to make here is that I'm not saying that Saraki is involved in criminal activities. What I'm saying is that these thugs that they hire to carry out their bidding during elections, they don't know what they do behind their back. Some of them are armed robbers. If you recall during, what's his name, Senator Ndume's time, there was this time they said they saw a communication between him and a Boko Haram member.
Boko Haram member.
You understand? So these guys, what they do behind their back, they don't know. So politicians now come hire their services, come and do my own bidding for me, you know. And at the end of the day, these guys are armed robbers. They are Boko Haram members, but during the politics, they serve as political thugs. And of course, you know that politicians are the ones that arm them.
No, even
when they are arrested by the police, do you hear any other story beyond their arrest? Same politicians go behind our back, try to say that to get them free from the clause of the law enforcement.
Then how do we put these boys to good use beyond using them as thuggery?
That also is for the political class to handle, you know. Everybody has one or two experience, you know. You can bring them, empower them. These are guys that you can train in one skill or the other. You know, it's not everybody mustn't go to school. If you see the ones that cannot go to school, you train them in one skill or the other so that they can take their minds off what they are doing.
Okay, Doctor, towards the second half of the second term of former President Muhammadu Buhari, we saw situations where there was a gradual but definite call for Nigerians to take up arms and defend themselves. We might be seeing a repeat of such issues. I'm saying this because just quite recently, I know the Coalition of Northern Groups or Coalition of Elders within the North are also calling for Nigerians to look inwardly to address the security situation in Nigeria. Let's take a look at that.
We are not here to do any lamentation or to passion the blames on one side or another person. What we are here to do is that we want to imbibe stakeholders. The stakeholders, that means the general public. One, for them to believe that the security challenge is our own problem. Two, is for us to believe that the security challenges can only be resolved when you and I decided to participate on how to bring an end to this problem. So any idea, not even only the federal government or the IGP, even if you have your own idea, write your package, submit it to the round table, we will use it. The National Security Advisor in person will be there. The service chiefs will be there. The CDS will be there. All these sectors, they will be there. So in as much as they agree that this is what we're supposed to do, then CNG will welcome the idea. We will democratize the process by involving every stakeholder to participate in the security and believes that the security challenges is our problem, not only as a whole, either security agents, government, or vigilante, or whatever problem. Collectively, we believe that we will solve the problem, inshallah.
Well, that was a representative of the Coalition of Northern Group. Doctor, one thing that strikes my attention, he said he doesn't want it to look like he's indicting anybody, but at this point, I think we have to indict somebody. What do you think of that?
You see, it's unfortunate that our law enforcement agents or agencies, they have this belief that if you are not on uniform, you don't have anything to offer. No, very seriously. I made bold to say that because of my research on kidnapping for ransom, I was able to come up with let me just digress a bit. I was able to come up with an app where you have the app on your phone. You go to Google and what do you call that, app store, and you can download the app. Now, as a Nigerian, as a security consultant, coming up with such an app, I've made bold to say that I approached some security agencies in this country, even the National Assembly, telling them about the app, that this app, any Nigerian that is kidnapped anywhere will know the exact location of the person. What we need to do is just to liaise with the police and say, okay, this is a subscriber that has been kidnapped and this is the location of the person. If I tell you something that will shock you, no interest. Let us invite the innovator, this man that has written to us and is telling us about an app. This is one solution we are looking at in the area of kidnapping. There was no invitation from the National Assembly and even the law enforcement agencies that we have. So it goes to ask this question. When people say or talk about political will, you understand?
So you feel it's negligence and lack of political will?
Exactly. Okay, let us listen to this person. How does this app, how does it work? Does it have what it takes for us to be able to curb kidnapping, especially for ransom in Nigeria? There was no invitation. So imagine that somebody, an innovator, wrote to the National Assembly and to the Senate President and to the Speaker, telling him that this is what I have as some solutions that I've been able to put up. And there was no invitation. So you see, it is very worrisome. And when people begin to say that, Nigerians begin to say that these people benefit from what is happening, then you begin to wonder, is it true?
Okay, now, I know that a lot of security experts, just like yourself, have done research. Just like you just painted a picture for us now. These ideas have been declined. Now, give us a sense of how the government is taking some of this research for granted and also appreciating some of them, because I know that there are wins, there are gains and all of that. Yes. What's the synergy like? Is this something that, you know, we can fortify in days to come or in weeks to come or in years to come? Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel in this matter?
I see a light at the end of the tunnel if we are ready to do the right thing and we are committed to it. You see, we need a lot of patriotism in what we are doing and commitment. Now, the last assembly, the 9th assembly, under former Speaker Femi Gbajabamila, that is called the current Chief of Staff
of the President.
Now, you know, last assembly, they constituted Nigeria National Special Security Committee, you know, to say, okay, let us see what we can do, you know, at our level to help the government of the former President Buhari to bring up some recommendations to tackle some of these issues that we are talking about. I did a memorandum to that very committee, and I made like 7 recommendations how insecurity can be tackled locally. Because my own is to see how these things, because these crimes are local. Let us see how we can tackle it locally. From my 7 recommendations, 3 were picked. If you go look for that document, you see that my name, they referenced me in that document. They handed over that document to former President Buhari. This is what we were able to put up. What happened to that document?
It was line follow somewhere.
Yes, line follow somewhere. Now, the man is Chief of Staff. I want to believe that this is high time, because it is his document, if you ask me, when he was Speaker. It is now time to
implement,
to resurrect the document. Let us look at the recommendations that came from experts that talked about how these things come. And since it's very close to the current president, and I see the interest in the president to see that these issues of insecurity are tackled, you know, such document that he, you know, gave birth to, they should be able to look at it and say, okay, what is it? Now, we have the Speaker that was the sponsor of the bill to establish the vigilante group of Nigeria. I guess he must have read the benefits of what vigilante group can do in Nigeria in terms of these insecurity issues we are talking about. Then he was an honorary member. Today he's Speaker. And the bill to assent to the establishment of vigilante is before the president. So I think that the political class needs a lot of work to do. They should not be carried away by the office. You know, what Nigerians voted them for and why they are there. We can't see Nigerians dying every day like chickens. We are complaining about no money, hardship and all that, but you see people put funds together to the tune of 10 million, 15, 20, and way above that, paying some criminal elements in the bush, it's not acceptable.
Indeed, it's not, Doctor. And this reminds me of the Al-Qadria family, which unfortunately led to the death of one of the girls, Libya. Doctor, well, the former Minister of Communication, Issa Ali Pantami, was forced to mention, and thank God he did so, that the SIM-NIN linkage, as introduced by the former President Muhammadu Buhari administration, is not being utilized. In fact, in his words, Pantami blamed security agencies for not utilizing the NIN SIM data to tackle rising kidnapping for ransom and banditry. He says the NIN SIM policy has been working and that the relevant institutions fighting criminality are to be requested to ensure that they utilize it effectively when a crime is committed, and a lack of utilizing it is the main problem, not the policy. Pantami said a lack of utilizing it is the problem and not the policy. Why are we seeing initiatives introduced by successive governments, and what happens afterwards is this initiative is initiated, it starts working, and then after a while it is abandoned, despite the fact that there is a call and a need for it? Because at a point like this, one would have expected that the relevant agencies simply track. That was what we were told when we were asked to link our SIM cards. But we still have people getting abducted. We still have ransoms rising to close to $1 billion, if not more, currently being demanded for people who could barely feed from hand to mouth before they were abducted.
So terrible. You see, whatever discussion we're having here and other discussions people are having, it boils down to solutions, right?
Indeed.
Let us look out for solutions to this. Now, this policy of the SIM-NIN linkage should serve as solutions, right? So, why this? Why are they not using it? Based on what the former minister has said. It goes to show that the relevant agencies that are supposed to use it, it means they are not even interested in doing it.
So do Nigerians now have to suffer the lack of interest from these agencies? And how much more do we have to suffer before they do what ought to be done?
That's the situation we have found ourselves. We are suffering from it. Because of negligence, people are not punished. Who are the people that are saddled with the responsibility of using the policy?
Utilizing the software.
Yes. Who are they? They are not performing their duties. In the event where they are not doing that, are they supposed to remain?
There are no sanctions.
They are not. That's the point. No punishment. People are not held accountable.
In other words, do you think this now embolden the kidnappers? Because,
Certainly.
I mean, we are seeing a rise in cases here in Africa.
The kidnappers are aware that there's a policy like that. And do you know that during my research, I interviewed well over 30 victims?
Oh.
Yes, 30. I met them one-on-one. The negotiation throughout while they were in captivity was via their phones.
Their own personal numbers.
Their own phones. They were using their
Their personal mobile
phones.
phones, as a matter of
to
fact.
negotiate with their families. It was their phones that they were using to negotiate ransom. Kidnappers told me that they are aware that if they use their own personal phone, they can be tracked. They are aware of that. These people are not. You can see you see them as if they are dumb. They are not dumb.
So if they are aware that if they use their personal phone, what about the victim's phone who has registered their SIM and linked
Most likely linked
with their
to the SIM.
NIN?
Exactly.
So why
that's
is
the
it
point.
now
That's the point
different?
we are
There's
making.
something happening somewhere. Someone is not doing their job. But the problem of
Are you not
information.
aware that the police, we have read where victims said police partook in sharing the ransom?
Now, talking about ransom now, it's very important. We give ransom. Now, they've had different ways of asking for ransom, not in cash-like, but, they're asking for some sort of motorcycle.
But yeah, I actually heard of a situation where someone was abducted, and unfortunately, while they were demanding for ransom, the kidnappers demanded for a motorbike and school bag.
Exactly.
And in my mind, I
And
was
other
like, well,
items.
maybe his kids want to go to school. And other items. I've heard
I use
them
a backpack.
demand for bag of rice. I've heard demands like a keg of probably palm oil. I've heard of demands of yams and different other items.
Now, when kidnappers demand for items like this, motorbikes and the likes, and the law enforcement gets to know about this, what is wrong with installing something like a tracker on that motorbike? You know, so the moment they deliver these motorbikes, the kidnappers will not be aware that there's something like that. So when they go about their normal businesses within the communities where they live or something, because they live amongst us.
You don't even strike at the like.
So as they go about, you are tracking them. When they retire at night, you know that okay, this is where the bike is. We need to think.
Okay, Doctor, you said something about, you know, policemen you being indicted.
Exactly.
Probably sharing the ransom and all of that. I've heard that. I've actually seen text messages circulating on different WhatsApp group of someone who was tracked even without the phone being on, and then, you know, they were apprehended, kidnappers, end quote. Now, talking about the role of security agencies now and ransom payments, some victims have actually agreed that some of these policemen literally ask them, just go and pay.
Yes. There's a case now, the police say just pay.
So give us a sense of how these people collaborate with these kidnappers to perpetrate this crime, allegedly.
Yes. You see, I want to commend the hierarchy of the military, the police, and all that. They are aware that they have bad eggs in their system. These issues we are talking here, they are being carried out because of the bad eggs that they have in their system. It's not all the police are not bad, all the soldiers are not bad. In Akwa Ibom, as I speak, about 2 police officers have been sentenced to death by the Akwa Ibom State High Court.
In connection to this? Kidnapping.
Yes.
Interesting.
In Port Harcourt, about 4 police officers, they are in detention. They masterminded a kidnapping of a hotel staff, and they demanded for $1 million. You know, so they are involved in it. The bad ones are involved, and the police are trying their best to fish out these bad ones. Was it not in this country where a sheikh gave a soldier a ride? He took a soldier from their checkpoint somewhere around that Zamfara axis. On their way, the soldier told the sheikh that he's hearing a sound behind his vehicle that the man needs to check. When the man now stopped to check, the soldier did not allow the man, he shot the man. So when Nigerians that are paid taxpayers money, armed to protect citizens, involve themselves in this, it takes us to the recruitment process. Due diligence is not conducted, it's not carried out. Before you know, a politician will send a list of 10, 15 boys, okay, take them into the police. Meanwhile, proper background checks are not done. So it's a systemic thing. And to fix it, it is we, the people that are in the system, they need to do the right thing. Are they doing the right thing? It's not about coming to the television and say, we are doing this, we are doing that. Now, you're even coming, you need to be strategic about the way and manner you carry out your operations. You come to the television that you have established a special intervention squad. The criminals are seeing that you have established won't they prepare themselves against the special intervention squad that you have come to announce on television? Have they come to announce their own that this is what they are trying to do?
So it's not strategic.
It is not strategic. So there's a whole lot that they need to do. Go to the drawing board and look at these things. It's not, you see, when I see them do certain things as trained officers and all that, and the way they go about it, I begin to wonder, are they really trained? It's not, you can't keep divulging your tactics, what you have done, what you want to do. Meanwhile, the people you want to go and attack, you are not even aware of what they are even trying to do.
So, Doctor,
and that is why they are always ahead, and these people are coming behind.
All of this is just media action without actual action.
See, my brother, the fact of the matter is they should reduce this media show, you know. They should listen more. When somebody comes and says, I have an information, you give the person an audience. I have something that I think that if we do it like this, it will pay. You give the person an audience. If you go to the police headquarters now, how can you see the IG? You can't see him.
That's why he has subordinates. But, you know, that's the problem, the hierarchy and everything.
How do you see them?
Doctor, you see, I am even more worried, especially with your submissions, because I've identified lack of political will on the part of the government.
Exactly.
I've identified negligence on the part of the security agencies. I've also identified complicity on the part of locals who stay around these areas. But in all of this, the ordinary Nigerian man who goes out every day strives, struggles to make ends meet so he could get something for himself and by extension his family to eat, still ends up being the one who bears the brunt, you know, of all of this. So I guess the question now will be, what is the hope for him?
I was in one of these stations, and I said, it's unfortunate that I'm a realist. From what I have gathered, kidnapping for ransom has come to stay.
At least at the moment.
At the moment.
Yes, it has come to stay. Because these criminal elements have seen that it's a lucrative venture.
It has come to stay. That is if the security agents are not doing their job.
And if the system remains as it is.
Which effort are they making? You cannot get to them.
So earlier you said there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That means we are getting somewhere.
If we do the right thing. If we do the right thing. Of course, you know that when it has to do with manpower, we are lacking behind completely. You cannot have 400,000, less 400,000 police officers, and you expect this job to be done. It can't be done. And that is why we are saying that, for me, I am saying that we have retired police officers, we have retired army soldiers that have retired back to their community after serving 35 years. They retired to their community. If I go to my village now, you see retired soldiers, retired police. What are they doing? They're not doing anything. You need to involve them. How do you involve them? When you create this vigilante group, it becomes a federal government structure. You create the National Nigerian Hunters and Forest Security Service. It becomes a federal government structure. You bring these people. They can serve as instructors. They can serve in the advisory role. You know, able-bodied youths that live within these communities, that they are traditional rulers, they are imams or pastors, we vouch for them that they are of good character and behavior. Bring them. They need to be empowered, not just empowered, guns.
But
then people begin to talk about, why do you begin to empower more civilians when we have issues of arms proliferation and what?
Doctor, how do we now address this issue? Because you said it's the kidnapping is a lucrative venture.
It is.
And we've seen situations where some of these accomplices, so to speak, who serve as informants to these kidnappers have at one time or the other been apprehended by police officers, you know, across different parts within the Northwest and even the North Central. And, you know, the amount that they are paid sometimes, it scares me, you know, because sometimes even we who are broadcasters here don't even earn as much as an informant who is somewhere, you know, in the forest. Who just basically gives information and ends because of that. With that in mind and with how lucrative it looks, the market looks for these locals, how do we now go about addressing the issues of making these locals patriotic to the state than to the non-state actors who are their paymasters?
You see, to respond to that, I have to take one. Well, we need to talk about the crime triangle. Crime triangle now has to do with the desire, one, intention. That you cannot take away. Now, it gets to the reward, which is one, then the opportunity, which is another one. If a criminal-minded person has already conceived that this is what he wants to do, either serve as an informant or
whatever it is,
you can't take that away. When the person is thinking and not saying that, it's an inbuilt thing, as in it's within the person. Now, what the law enforcement now needs to do is that the opportunity for that criminal-minded person to have a fertile ground to be able to strike, that is what the law enforcement is to see that they don't give that criminal-minded person that opportunity, you know. Because if you allow the person that opportunity, the reward will certainly, if it's kidnapping for ransom and the person strikes and the person is paid ransom, so the desire, you can't do that. But the opportunity to strike, our law enforcement agents should see that they don't have that opportunity. Because if you allow them that opportunity, the reward will certainly come in. You understand? So,
in other news, would say, because there has been continuous call for this, would you say granting or legislating and amending the Constitution to include that those found guilty of kidnappings for ransom should be sentenced to death by firing squad in a public place. I'm saying this specifically because this was the recommendation that was given in the piece that I read. Death by firing squad in a public place. Do you think that this would do some form of justice and also serve as a deterrent to a lot of these non-state actors who are currently in the forest?
Yes. If you allow me, I will give that suggestion as well. You know, because these criminals that will come and see that their colleagues or whatever have been treated that way. In Afghanistan, that's how it's done. They kill you, they hang your bodies in a public square, so like the Unity Fountain that we have. They will hang their dead bodies in a public square where
everyone can see.
Come and see.
Before we call it a close, I would like to pick your brain on this. So you mentioned something earlier about, you know, citizens arming themselves to defend themselves. And we know how this have metamorphosed into you just sitting in your house. Look at Nabia's family, they are in their house. And then abductors just came and they were abducted. And I, as a person, I love to listen to Nigerians in the bars, walking on the street and all of that. And I hear out of 10 Nigerians, you hear 5, 6 of them talking about we need a gun, we need to protect ourselves.
We need to arm ourselves.
What's your thought concerning that situation, you know, that development? Do you think that Nigerians should be given license to own a gun to protect themselves against kidnappers and other criminal elements?
No. I won't advise that. Yes. But
why is that?
No, you can't just have a situation in Nigeria where everybody should, and individuals can just go on a gun.
Do you think you will become doomed?
There's a likelihood that it can become. But if you have a structure, just the way I said, a vigilante is a structure. They will have their armory, you know, the ones that will be on duty, policing their communities. You know, you go to your armory, if there are like maybe 20 of them that will be on duty that night or during the day or whatever. If there are 20 of them, let's say 10 are armed. These arms are marked, you know, so that if this community has their own, the other community, the way it's marked, cannot be the same. You know, so yours is to use to protect the community where you live. You understand? With that, you can know if the arms move from this location to another. It can be that it could be traced. But in the event where, but it doesn't mean that individuals that are wealthy don't have arms there. They have they have arms, you know, that they have the license to have. But it's a situation where you want all Nigerians to own an armor the way it's done in the US. You know, I don't think it's advisable here because it will create or cause more problems.
As a matter of fact, the FCT command has withdrawn their license to giving arms.
Yes. But when it's structured, hunters associations, hunters and vigilante, closing the gap in our rural communities on behalf of the conventional police and the military, that can serve. Okay. Yes.
All right. We thank you so much for this, and we hope that we have all of these recommendations.
Indeed, it's been a lovely conversation, having shared perspectives on the issues of insecurity in Nigeria and how to go about addressing them. We've also been speaking to Dr. Steven Okwori. He is a security and crime management consultant. Doctor, thank you so much for making the program.
A pleasure.